This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
And I noticed this from the very beginning, and so Jeff is spot on today. Washed Up Guy says, thanks to Jeff for today's bumper music. I was 7 years old when Buddy Holly and the others died in that plane crash. I remember the news clearly. Hard to believe it was 66 years ago. That from Washed Up Guy. Yeah, you're exactly right. I don't know who this is, but man, if you played Big 12 basketball and you've been on a top 25 team and you're playing a top 10 team, then okay, I'll buy in. But maybe you just were in high school or in a pickup league. Anyway, he says this: I've been in Toppin's position trying to pass out of a double team, and it's almost impossible to spot someone to pass to and look down to intentionally kick someone at the same time. I think that's all fair.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Again, if there was, who was the Yahoo from Duke a couple seasons ago that kept tripping everybody?
Oh, yeah.
So there was history, right?
And he kept saying, no, I'm not doing that.
Or these two had been just banging all game long, and it was getting vicious or whatever. You felt like there was cheap shots going back and forth, and maybe you're like, this was an extension. There was nothing. There's nothing in JT Toppin's past that points to him being this guy. But I'm not saying that the officials do research before the game on all these guys or whatever, but there was nothing over the course of the game that made you feel, course of the 3 minutes and 50 seconds that made,
for all we know, this is the first time that Toppin's ever seen this guy on the floor, unless there's something that goes back to AAU basketball or something along those lines.
How in the world are you sitting there as these three officials and saying there's no question he did this on purpose? How in the world are you saying that? And
I'm with you. I would love to know, because generally what happens is you've got two officials that come over and they look at the play, okay, and they go back and they go back and they go back and they keep winding it back. I don't know how long the actual time was that they took, but it doesn't seem like it was quite that long.
If you were, let's say you were friends with the officials and you were trying to stick up for them, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what would your case be? That his right leg was higher than his left leg? That it was perfectly aimed at his groin? What? That his legs moved forward and that's not a normal motion, which I disagree with. I think you're making an overhead pass like that.
I think it would be the velocity of the leg to the midsection. And I think the how, and it may have been just one of those things that he's kicking out to throw the ball, and he's looking. He knows he's got to land, but he's kicked his leg so hard because it was clean. It didn't brush the inside of the legs. It was clean, and it was almost a full extension. So maybe the velocity of the kick.
Yeah,
but he's not.
Wouldn't you love to know what Kelvin Sampson thought about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And wouldn't you love to also, it would be impossible to do this. Like, if this had happened in Lubbock, would decision have been the same? Would those three referees had been like, did it on purpose. Yeah, he's gone. Or would they have said to themselves, would the crowd and the situation and the place that you're at, does it affect it?
Mm-hmm.
It just, I don't know. It was just so hard for me to wrap my hands around, wrap my head around. I should say, yes, we're certain he did this on purpose. How do you get there?
And going back to what you said, you'd love to know the conversation, because what happens is you have the two that come in, and then they bring in the third, and the third gets to look, and then they huddle up, and then they have a discussion. So it's kind of like, okay, was it 2 out of 3 in majority rules, or were they all in agreement, or was there doubt in somebody's head that they just couldn't sell it on the other guy? Was one of them the stronger voice and says, no, hey, you two guys over here, you are new to the Big 12. I've been here. I know what I'm doing. This is not Big 12 basketball what we normally see. So therefore, it's a flagrant 2. And the other 2 are going, hey, it's my first game. This guy's been here. He's been here. Yeah, we'll go with that.
I mean, I could buy into what you're selling there, Chuck. I would be.
We're talking about
intrigued to know.
We're talking about less than 4 minutes into the ball game. Maybe right at it's like 16:04. I think is when it occurred. So, we're talking pretty early on into the ball game. I mean, they're literally not even settled into the game yet. I mean, you're not even to your first under 16 timeout.
And after everything blew up, you know how you have like a day where, let's say you argue with someone early at work or whatever, and then like the rest of the day your stomach's kind of like on edge, right?
Yeah.
You're just kind of like
Sure.
Feel tense or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after McCaslin like just loses, it was so awesome, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like the whole rest of the game, are they like, oh man, like did we mess up here? Were they thinking about it? Was it in the back of their head?
Sure.
Did we totally blow this when they went in at halftime? I mean, because that's all they were talking about.
Absolutely.
At halftime.
Absolutely.
All they were talking about.
Hey, did we get
halftime.
this right?
Yeah. What does any of you guys? I'll get your phone out. Let's see what the replays are.
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
their phones are probably blowing up. I think this is a good point by this texter. As much as I hated seeing Coach Mack and JT get kicked out of the game, it seemed to make the team ultra focused and determined.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach Linder obviously deserves a lot of credit.
Absolutely.
Right. He did a terrific job, but then those players on the court that were just like, the heck with this. We're standing up for our guys. We're not going to let them, do this to us, kind of attitude. Like it's us against these guys. Let's get this done. Whatever it took. And that's where, veteran leadership, I think, on the court had to have been huge in that situation. So, man, just shows a lot about the team.
Absolutely. If it was Brock Cunningham, remember him? That would have been an easy call because he did that a lot.
Well, he had the history of being a cheap shot artist.
Right. I think that's
JT Toppin has had none of that.
6:39 this morning here on the morning drive. I mean, and somebody says this: we could be in the top 10 today. You're right. With everything that took place, I would say you're going to be in the top 15. I don't think you're going to make that much of a leap from 22 to inside the top 10, but you're going to it's going to be a huge leap.
So inside top 15, you think?
Oh yeah, based on all the teams that lost, I think
22 to 12 would still be a huge jump.
It would.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It's Monday. It is February 3rd, 2025. It is the first Monday in February. Here is Jeff McGuire with this day in sports history.
Starting in 1942, baseball owners agreed to permit each club up to 14 night games in 1942. Now, when you think of what just happened,
right,
the fact that you're having night games at all is not the best of ideas.
Right, because of Pearl Harbor and the World War II going on and all that kind of stuff.
But there weren't a lot of night games before 42 either, so there's a little of this that it wasn't really a great idea at that point. Maybe wait a few years. 1976, Mike Russell scores 25 points and earns 10 of his 12 rebounds in the first half as the Texas Tech Red Raiders beat Arkansas at home 86-78. 1979, Minnesota Twins trade Rod Carew to the California Angels for 4 players. And you know that the Angels got the better side of that trade because I don't have a list of the other 4. I did do a 5-minute Google search trying to find out, and I couldn't immediately just grab it. There's a lot of conversation he was traded, but who it was not top of mind. 1991 NFL Pro Bowl at Aloha Stadium in Honolulu, Hawaii. AFC beats the NFC 23-21. Jim Kelly, Buffalo Bills quarterback, the MVP.
All right. Way to go, Jim.
And in 2019, Super Bowl 53, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. New England Patriots beat the Los Angeles Rams 13-3. Julian Edelman is the from the New England Patriots wide receiver is his sixth Super Bowl victory for the Patriots, and he was your MVP. I don't remember which one of you it is, but I know one of you loves today. It is National Carrot Cake Day.
It's not me.
It's me.
Okay. I knew one of you was like, that's like one of your top 5 cakes. Happy birthday to Warwick Davis, who's 55. Nathan Lane, 69. Morgan Fairchild, 75. Jamie's favorite, Rugnet Odor, is 31. And Vladi Divac is 57. And on this day, 1959, as we have been hinting at all morning, after mechanical difficulties with the tour bus, Buddy Holly had chartered a plane for his band to fly between stops of the Winter Dance Party Tour. However, the JP, the Big Bopper Richardson, who had the flu, convinced Holly's band member Waylon Jennings to give up his seat. And Richie Valens won a coin toss for another seat on the plane. All 3 were killed when the charter Beechcraft Bonanza plane crashed in a town a few minutes after taking off from Mason City on a flight headed for Moreland, Minnesota. Investigators blame the crash on the bad weather and the pilot error, and it has become known as the day the music died. And that is this day in sports history.
All right, 6:48 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to WT973.com for that, of the mobile app. The Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. There were 2 Big 12 games yesterday. West Virginia wins in Cincinnati 63-50, and TCU wins at home over Colorado 68-57. Colorado remains winless in the Big 12.
Man, that Cincinnati team, boy, have they gone in the tank.
Mm-hmm. In addition to Tech winning over the weekend, how about Kansas State going into...
Fantastic day of Big 12 basketball on Saturday.
How about Kansas State going into Iowa State and winning in Ames 80-61 over the third-ranked Cyclones?
Yeah, we all saw that coming.
Yeah. Kansas blows a 21-point lead, and they they double-digit loss to Baylor, 81-70. They just went in the absolute tank in the last 7-8 minutes of the ball game.
Okay, so they blow the lead.
Yeah.
And then they get it back to up to 8 or 10 or something?
I think it was 9.
Okay.
9.
9. They get it back to 9, and then they end up losing by how many?
11.
That's just, the ebbs and flows of that game were absolutely nuts.
It was 44-32 with 15:54 to go in the basketball game, and then Baylor just goes on this incredible run, and it got back up to 57-49. So that's what, that's an 8-point lead with 9:42 to go. They get to 10, and then just can't score down the stretch. It's the biggest it's the biggest lead that they've given away in the history of the program. The biggest. And that Kansas team is reeling. They're ranked 11th. They're going to be, I don't know, 18, 15, somewhere along those lines. But that's a team that's in real trouble, I think. And then how about Arizona and Arizona State? Arizona wins at Arizona State 81-72, and Bobby Hurley and his group refused to shake hands with Arizona because of things that happened on the floor. Oklahoma State wins at home over Utah. Not a huge surprise there, 81-72. And I'm surprised by BYU going into UCF and winning 81-75.
Yeah.
I feel like UCF's better than kind of what they've shown. But so now when you look at the standings in the Big 12, you kind of dare to dream because you got real opportunities. Now you have the tiebreak with both Arizona and Arizona State. I mean, you handed them their one loss, or Arizona and Houston, I should say.
Handed both of them their one loss.
Yeah, handed both of them their one loss.
Just like Big 12 football right now.
Yeah.
The two teams at the top you beat.
Right. But the difference is you're winning against the teams that you should beat too. You know, that you're 8-2.
Yeah.
And behind you is Iowa State at 7-3, BYU at 6-4, Baylor at 6-4, Kansas at 6-4, and West Virginia at 5-5, and UCF is 4-6. And got a big game tomorrow with Baylor. So really important to defend home court tomorrow, and then go from there. Just kind of trying to keep winning one game at a time. Tonight, the two losers from Saturday are going to play on Big Monday, number 11 Kansas and number 3 Iowa State. They won't be those rankings by the time the game tips. And then our game tomorrow tips at 8. We'll have coverage at 7 here on Double T 97.3, and obviously be talking about it all day long. But, man, what a great spot you find yourself in here halfway through the Big 12 season.
I mean, you're in great position here to compete for conference championship, and I think we talked about the stretch that you're in right now of these 3 tough games, with on the road at Houston, home against Baylor, on the road against Arizona. I'm feeling like when we come out of this, we'll know if you're legitimately in contention, or if you're a really good team, but you're probably going to finish 4th or 5th or something. Well, I mean, after one game of the 3-game stretch, I think we're saying, I think you're legitimately in contention. So we'll see how these next 2 go. But, man, you're right there. I think you said it well earlier when we talked about, hey, don't let's not forget that you actually won the game, right? And what it means for you in the Big 12, championship race.
Don't diminish the game.
Yeah, it's fantastic, because we were all so interested in the drama and should he have been booted and should he not have been booted, and is Grant McCaslin the coolest person on the planet or the second coolest person on the planet? I mean, those were the questions we were focusing on instead of, hey, we just won this huge game.
This little planet in Lubbock, Texas, he's walking on water right now, you know.
It was just so awesome to see him look at the highlight and then just lose it. Just lose it. It was so fantastic.
6:54 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Take your thoughts and comments. Where does this rank in regular season Texas Tech basketball history? How high up there is a win like Saturday when you think about regular season wins, or even just overall wins in the basketball history of Texas Tech? It's right there.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
If this is not your question of the day, then we'll get to this at some point in time, because Jamie will have a question for us. But at some point in time this morning, before we're done today, we're gonna do another. Okay, where do you think we're gonna finish, and who's gonna win the conference? Okay, so if that's your question of the day, I'll hold that. But we'll get to that at some point in time this morning.
I'm fine with doing that.
So, on the 20th. Let's see, at the start of the Big 12, okay, on December 31st, we had the number of games that the winner would have. You had 15, I had 15, Jeff had 16. That was the winning number for whomever would win the Big 12. We all had Kansas winning the Big 12. We all had Tech winning 12 games. At that point in time, you had Tech 5th, I had Tech 4th, Jeff had Tech 5th, and then the seeding for the NCAA was 9 for you, 10 for me, and 8 for Jeff. Our last prediction, which was on the 20th of January, so almost 3 weeks ago, 9-5 for Jeff and Jamie, and 10-4 for me in the conference. So now when you look at this and go, oh man, if we're just, it would be a disaster at this point, right? Because you're 8-2.
All right. So, I mean, you've kind of led us into it. We probably just need to keep going into it. Yeah. So where do you think?
I don't know why I have 9-5. That doesn't make any sense, because there's 20 games in the. I don't know why I had 9-5 written down there. Okay, so
how many wins do you think the Red Raiders will get in the regular season, Big 12 wise, and where do you think they're going to finish?
Yeah. Okay, so let me kind of just tell you how it looks here, just in terms of the schedule of what's left, so you can kind of get a real kind of true reading of it. You have Baylor here, then you still go to Arizona. You have Arizona State at home. You have to go to Oklahoma State and TCU in back-to-back games on the 15th and 18th. You have West Virginia at home, and the big Monday now, the circle February the 24th on your calendar. That's when Houston comes back to town, okay, or comes to town. And then you go to Kansas on the 1st, have Colorado at home on the 5th, and then you finish at Arizona State, okay?
Okay.
Let's see, Choice Woodman is going to help me here.
So I'm going to go...
Oh, we were predicting the final 14 games of the Big 12. Okay, that's why we had 9-5, because we were predicting the final 14 at that point in time. Thank you, Choice.
I'm going to put the Red Raiders... I'm going to bump them 3 games. I'm going to put them at 15-5.
Okay. Jeff?
I still have you where you were before. This is still a tough road. You've gotten 1 game. That's great. You could lose the next 2 just as easy. I'm still at the 9 mark.
9-5 for well, no. 9-5 was
what is your Big 12 record going to be?
What is your total
Big 12 record?
Yeah.
I think I had what was that? What did I have before?
So at the
13, 14?
At the beginning, you said 16. On the 15th, on the 31st, you had 12. On the 15th, you still had 12.
Yeah, I'm still
12-8.
No, I'll go 13. 13-7. I'll get you one more because you got the Houston one I didn't think you were going to get.
I'm going to go 16-4.
Okay, so you're going to go 8-2 both times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think your potential losses are going to be at Arizona, which comes up here on Saturday. And I still think that game against Houston on the 24th is going to be hard. I mean, I know it's at home, but it's going to be hard. Those 2 games might be your 2 hardest, and then obviously going to Kansas, I think it's going to be hard. But I don't think they could be that team could be in the tank by the time you get to March the 1st, and then that last game at Arizona State on March the 8th, that could be a barn burner as well. So we'll see.
I'm nervous about Tuesday.
Baylor.
Yep. Just
coming off of a big high like that.
Well, it's going to linger.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to linger. Coach McCaslin's got a tough challenge right now, to get his team past the drama of this past weekend.
Sure. Kind of get them refocused and all those things. I mean, you had a big kind of homecoming of fans, which is awesome. I'm glad they did. But like you said, I mean, it's hard to kind of get everybody back underneath the tent, so to speak, without going too crazy with what happened on Saturday. But man, looked like they had a big crowd at the Womble to greet the team on Saturday. And for those of you that went and took your kids or just went yourself, man, good for you. I'm glad. That's awesome to see. I'm sure that boosted the team.
But that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
but that was cool.
Absolutely. I'm glad people did that. This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Part of me thinks that after the refs gave Toppin and Grant McCaslin the heave-ho, that they realized they messed up and kind of started trying to make up for that error towards Tech. I don't know. I wasn't able to watch the game like that from that angle. I was just kind of floating in and out as I was with the Lady Raiders in Boulder. So
I'm just going to tell you, I don't remember any calls that I thought like, oh man, we got a favorable call there. Yeah. At the same time, do I believe that there are such things in basketball as makeup calls? 100%.
Sure.
I believe that.
Sure.
100%. So do I think it could have, as we talked about earlier, did these guys, were they, was it in their head, man, did we mess that up? Did we blow that? It makes you question yourself a little bit. I'm sure they were chatting about it at halftime, and I'm not saying that any of the three said, I'm going to do this, but just your mind works differently, and you try to, without even intentionally doing it, you
overcompensate.
You try to overcompensate.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's possible. I don't remember any calls where I was like, man, we just that was a terrible call that went in our favor. I don't remember that, but yeah.
And I thought so too. Surprisingly, Coach Sampson was very complimentary of Texas Tech in his press conference after the game.
Yeah, he did mention the free throw shooting, which sounded like that was him. Yeah, no, he was.
Yeah. Let's see. Carl, who's in Abilene for now, says, interesting trivia tidbit. I apologize if anyone already noted this. Of the 6 Big 12 games on Saturday, in 5 of them, one team scored 81 points. Only one of those lost. We wrecked them. Okay?
Wow, that's crazy.
It is crazy. That is crazy. So, at any rate, it sure was fun Saturday. When it was all said and done. It turned into a game that it started as a game that all of us Red Raiders really wanted to win, whether you don't like Houston or you just know how important this game was. Big game, right?
And it turned into man, I want this game. Man, I want this game. They have hosed us. Man, I want us to get this game. It made it way more intense and fired me up, I'm sure, just like it fired up many Red Raiders because of it. Mm-hmm.
This person points out, and I think this is a good comment, Baylor also had to expedite a lot of emotional energy on Saturday.
Sure.
Glad this is a home game.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I think your home energy will carry over and help the team kind of get over that.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, so Chuck just touched on what I was going to ask about.
Okay.
And I don't even know myself if I have a great answer for this. I want you to tell me the last time you were as shocked in sports as you were when you heard that the Mavericks traded Luka to the Lakers.
Man, that's a great question.
I have to admit to you guys, because I don't get on social media on the weekends.
Uh-huh.
I do while I'm at work, and that's pretty much it. I didn't know until the middle of the afternoon yesterday when somebody made a joke to me about it. I said, what? And I was like, the Mavs traded Luka? I was in shock. I truly was. When was the last time you were that surprised in sports?
Man, that's...
I mean, you've got where I was that morning. I woke up and saw it on Twitter on Sunday morning, and I was like, great, people trolling on on Twitter, and then 3 posts down is like, no, this is real. This is, and I'm like, there's no way this is real. So I go to ESPN, and the ESPN story says this is real, and I'm just like, holy crud.
The funny part is that the friend that made the joke to me was telling me that something that he had read on Twitter where somebody said, the Dallas Mavericks just traded Luka, but you think you're irreplaceable at your job. LOL.
Well, I'll tell you, because...
Which is truly funny.
Because I was in Mountain Time Zone, so it was an hour earlier in Boulder. I was still up when that trade broke on ESPN.
Still at the club?
No. I was doing some... We'd gotten back from dinner after practice, and I think Fink and I were just doing... Fink was doing homework, and I was thinking about doing homework. And I was... we're just kind of watching basketball. All of a sudden, I think there was a game on, a late night game on. Anyway, and then they broke in with the breaking news, and it was just like, okay, That's huge. I mean, that's just, and then all the analysis started with, this is more about, this is not about the Lakers. This is about the Mavericks getting rid of, a franchise player. So when's the last time I was really, really shocked in sports? Like you just go, Peyton Manning going to the Broncos comes to mind, but I mean, he was injured, so it's not like the Colts traded him.
Do you guys want me to give you mine?
Yeah, go ahead.
Magic Johnson.
Dad, I was...
the HIV thing?
Yeah, announcing that it was HIV.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
I was trying to find something that wasn't outside of sports.
Mm-hmm.
But that absolutely qualifies.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that kept coming to my mind is the OJ trial, and every twist and turn of that seemed like it got more shocking as it went.
Yeah, how about just the initial
chase? The chase for me.
Yeah,
like the fact that an athlete was being accused of what he was being accused of, that didn't shock me, but the chase was shocking.
Yeah, and
when Gil Garcetti, the district attorney for Los Angeles, came out and said O.J. Simpson is a wanted man and he is on the loose, it's just like, oh my God, it's just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. I don't know that it was as shocked, because it's a different shock. Tech going to Omaha for the first time.
That's definitely a different kind of shock.
That's a completely different shock.
Yeah, because you knew they were playing for it.
Right, but you didn't expect it.
Like shock at the beginning of the season, probably not shock, right? That after you won game 1 of the Super and you were going into game 2, because that's not
right. But
you knew they had a chance at that point,
it's
right?
the holy cow, we have a chance. The shocking thing is that you did, and that you were then hosting the Super Regional the next week after being the 2 seed.
Yeah.
It just.
I guess another one for me would be the death of Roy Halladay, right?
Yeah.
But that's another, okay. But if I just said the most shocking, when a trade shocked you, I can't think of anything that competes with this.
Right. I mean, for me, I mean, just going way, way, way back in the day, I remember just being absolutely shocked and stunned with the death of Len Bias. 2 days after day after he was drafted, by the Celtics. Just how stunning that was, with the overdose, because you just didn't hear that much about overdoses in those days in 1984, 85. Somebody brings up Kobe's death. Yep. Andrew Luck's retirement.
Yeah, Kobe, definitely.
Yeah. Somebody brings up Jordan leaving for baseball. Wayne Gretzky getting traded. Yeah, that was...
Well, technically, he didn't first leave for baseball. He just retired.
He retired, yeah.
Yeah, and then a month later, baseball came into the picture.
Wayne Gretzky getting traded. That from Jared. Jared's our hockey guy.
Yeah.
Somebody brings up Sean Taylor. He was murdered in his home. So that's... But in terms of a trade...
Okay. This hasn't been mentioned yet, but this would be Dale Earnhardt's crash.
Yep.
Because it looked like just any other crash. I mean, it was a bad crash, don't get me wrong, but it was crash into the wall at Daytona, and we've seen this 100 times, and then what? Who?
Yeah.
That's not possible.
Where does... the announcement of Flagrant 2 for JT Toppin I think JT Toppin would say he was the most shocked when they told him he had to leave. He looked, he's obviously in the huddle, and then he walks out onto the court, and the ref goes up to him and is like, you have to leave. You cannot be here. Yeah, that was...
especially in kind of the transfer portal era that we're in. It's not like Luka requested a trade. It's not like the Mavericks even shopped him, because even as I was driving home last night, the report was that there was maybe only one other team that was given a shot at him.
Yeah, I had heard that there were none, that it was just a conversation that these two had over coffee one morning, and clearly it feels to me like there's more to this story, that the Mavs were really unhappy with Luka and feeling like his effort and conditioning that led to his poor effort in conditioning that led to him being injured and not being all in and being a terrible defensive player is a big factor in this.
Somebody brings up the Herschel Walker trade. Yeah, that's right there.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Good morning with Jamie Lent, Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We come to you from the First United Bank studio. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app for that. Also, the Visual Edge IT hotline is open at 806-771-0973. We come to you from the First United Bank studio. All right. Magic 8-ball time, Jamie. Here's the question. Will the Big 12 issue a statement with regard to the officiating on Saturday? Is that simple enough?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yes, definitely. Will anyone be suspended as a result of anyone's actions on Saturday? Anyone? Oh. It is decidedly so. Ooh.
Do you think you're going to know?
I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna. Well, if somebody gets suspended, we would know, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know that I necessarily need the officials to be suspended, but I would like them to be. I don't even know what I'd like. I'd like, you know what? I'm okay if they just say, you know what, they made the wrong call. We'll work on defining this rule better. I don't necessarily need them to see them, lose a game check or anything like that. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I think it's going. Why can't they just say the wrong call was made, and that this is what should have happened?
Have they done that a bunch of other times this year in the Big 12, Chuck?
No, but I mean,
have they gotten every call right?
No.
So why is this one different? Just because it involves Texas Tech?
No, because I think it was just such I'll use the word egregious. We seem to be overusing that word, I do.
I don't know that it's inaccurate.
I know
it's
this.
It's just not what they do. There was a call that was made that was bad. Okay. And I think everybody knows that across. I mean, I think Kelvin Sampson knows that. I mean, everybody agrees with it.
Why can't they just?
But they don't do that with other ones. So why is this one going to be different?
I don't know. Maybe they should. Maybe they should be. Maybe they should.
We don't want them telling us everything.
Time. No, you're probably right. You're right on that.
Been wrong,
but
they're just not going to do that. Now they're going to tell Texas Tech, we think it was the wrong call. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
they're going to let them know. Mm-hmm. Okay, but they're not going to put out a statement.
Well, see, the reason I'm going
to be so wrong.
Here's the reason why. Here's the reason why I think they have to that a state at the very least a statement will be put out because of Kirby's statement and because of what he said with regard to the commissioner said that there would be accountability.
Yeah. So then, as the commissioner and or the head of officials, what are you saying? Well, if you complain to us publicly. Yeah. You'll get a response.
Yeah.
So what are you telling every other AD to do?
Complain just like Kirby did.
Yeah, you call us out. Yeah. I mean, I love what Kirby did. I mean, he's sticking up for your head coach and your team and all that good stuff.
Okay, so would you here's the statement then from the Big 12 then. How about this? Would you rather the Big 12 come out and say something along the line of we have been in communication with both schools about the events of Saturday and it is an internal matter?
What does Houston have to do with it?
No. I don't know. Just because we need to let them.
I mean, if they did that, it's fine. It's not going to bother me. But what did we get out of that?
I take.
What did we get out of that?
Nothing. But I mean,
okay. So why are they going to do it?
Well, because they have to. I think they have to respond to Kirby's statement,
and they will to Kirby into Texas Tech.
But I think publicly they have to.
No, they don't.
It's funny to get this text. It's funny to get this text when so many people have ranted so much about this on social media, online, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, to themselves, to their wives, to people that don't care, to people that just are at the coffee shop. But then this guy says, it's okay, Jamie, let the old man rant about something we can't control and shouldn't be worried about. Okay, well, I don't take it. Okay, I am old. I am a man. I have ranted a little bit, but 40? Not really. Huh?
Are you 40?
I'm north of 40.
North of 40.
Yeah. But here's the deal. Everybody's, talking about this. So it's not like I'm the only one that's, quote, ranting about this.
So as a sports fan, okay, specifically as a Texas Tech sports fan, all of the things that you are asking for are like things as I'm sitting there watching the game and maybe even steaming a little bit Saturday night, that I'm saying, man, I want to hear from the Big 12. I want to find out what's happening to these officials. I want to know, I want to know this. I want to know that, okay? All of those things I say, okay? I don't go to social media with any of them, but all of those things I say. All of those things I say. And then as a somewhat journalist, okay, I come in here this morning and I say to myself, well, the Big 12 hasn't done that in the past. Okay, now I'm not a raging lunatic. Okay, now I'm trying to be professional. I'm like, that's not something they've done in the past. If they only made a statement because Kirby made a statement, all they would be doing is telling every AD to complain about them publicly, so you get a response. It just doesn't make sense, Chuck. That's when I think about it and try to step outside of my love of Texas Tech sports and me being a emotional sports fan just like everybody else. Yeah. And I think, okay, what's realistic right now? And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't think all those things that you want, I want too.
Yeah, I know you do.
But it's not. I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
And if I was running the Big 12 conference, I would do what they're doing. I would respond to Kirby Hocutt and to Texas Tech and tell them, yep, we reviewed it. Yep, there'll be a decision made about what we're going to do with these officials, blah, 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 blah. It was definitely a bad call, blah, 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 blah. And I think Texas Tech is basically allowed to let that information come out one way or the other, whether it's leaked or whatever. Yeah. Okay? That information is going to come out, but they are not going to make a public statement.
Let me ask you this. Is there anything in Kirby's statement that tells you to think that he didn't necessarily follow protocol with regard? I mean, I love what he did because I feel like he had to do what he had to do, but I think the commissioner at this point might say to him, you made your feelings known publicly, and we don't do that, and so you're going to get hit with a $50,000 fine.
I think it's more likely that there's a comment made by the Big 12 about a fine for Kirby than there is one that says our officials messed up.
Yeah.
I think that's more likely.
I think Kirby's very definitely probably going to get
and I think
could get a fine.
Kirby knew that potential was there when he did what he did.
Absolutely.
That's why we all appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. And he had to do what he did. And I do appreciate it.
He didn't have to. He didn't have to.
He didn't have to. He made a choice. But, I mean, I'm glad
and it was I loved it.
A damn good one, right?
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.